Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Hey, Bill, it's great to be back with you again today, and I'm excited to talk about another niche topic here within this journey. And today we're talking about truth and labeling. Is that right?
Yeah, Tom. Delighted to be back. As somebody that focuses on how language works to either escalate conflict or de-escalate a conflict, labels is something that really causes people to escalate a conflict. Even though a label can help us with understanding or start us down the process to try to get a hold of what the other person is saying because we're labeling something, and it's really it's an okay start to label something, but the problem is as soon as we label people or a behavior, what happens is we actually put them in a box or cause a disconnect to take place. We're not really seeing them as a person anymore or a person that's struggling anymore. All we're doing is we're seeing them through the window of that label. And you can see how that works.
And that label is often a very narrow view of them, or maybe a skewed view of them or the situation. Isn't that right?
That's correct. And if we start in the middle and start what the center point is, what a label does is it tilts one way or another. It starts to say, oh, you're this type of person. You're in this category. You're in this religion. You're in this race. You're in this political party. You're in this thing. Or no, you're over here. Oh, you're this, you're that. And what happens is even though labels has been something that is essential to provide a starting place or a guidance, it was really never meant to, and it's not supposed to be meant to be the be all and end all of our experience, but people make it that way. Boy, you are this, or you are that.
So are those people that are assigning the label to someone or this group, are they being very calculated usually in doing that, or is it more of a human nature thing?
It's worse than that. It's not calculating, and it's not human nature. It's worse. And the worst thing is the person's trying to provide themselves protection. They're trying to create separation from. They're trying to create emotional safety from. They're trying to create identity away from. You are I am and all you got to do is stick in two opposite labels, let's just do this in a sports team. What's your favorite football team? What's your favorite?
Goodness, I'm a New England Patriots fan.
See?
That's going to be an easy one to.
That's an easy one to pick on, right? Oh, so you're a Patriot fan. Is it 5 enough? Can't you share it around a little bit? You see, now when it's a sports team, that could be interesting, or a college that could be interesting because I don't like those guys over there because there's the Alabama folks, or they're the Florida whatever, or they're any particular sports team, and being somebody that really leans on and came from the place, grew up in Florida as a Miami Dolphin. Well, guess what? Patriots are not really my favorite group. They're really just not, Tom.
I'm
You know,
sure. Yeah.
and then I lived in Kansas City, and I became a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And Tom, the Patriots are really not really one of my favorite groups, Tom. You know,
Yeah.
just it's very, very, very important. Very, to watch that. And when it's in a sports thing, the level of conflict doesn't have to be that high. Although, sometimes
Oh,
some fans go into the violence place around, you're this person and your team sucks and your team sucks. And what happens is the violence can escalate over that label and that team alliance or that team identity.
I agree. It definitely can. I mean, and certainly as a Patriots fan, I've been the brunt of a lot of criticism from longtime friends over the years who just
Yes.
think that the Patriots cheat and, somehow they don't deserve what they've achieved.
Ugh.
You know what? But it does seem though that with the sports, I think there's a difference though. I think to me, it feels like at a lower level because with all those people, and I'm talking about people I grew up in high school, and I grew up in high school in suburban New York City. So
Yes.
Patriots were not liked there either. It's the Giants or the Jets.
Yep.
And that continues with most of the people I grew up with. Now they all know I'm a Patriots fan and accept it. And it stops short of painting me, I think, in a very bad light. They talk about the team, your team did this or
Your
is
team
that, and it doesn't seem to rub off on me as much
much.
as what my impression is of when we label people in a certain other category, like you were saying, of maybe today when we talk about immigrants,
That's
I
right.
think people that are getting labeled very
That's right.
much today.
Yes, that's a good segue to here is this thing with immigrants, and here's how one party is dealing with immigrants, and here's how the other party is dealing with immigrants. It is, where did the middle ground go? The middle ground is not there, because if one side is casting the Democrats as having an open border that lets the people to go coming from where they choose to take our stuff and use our systems, and that's what's putting the pressure on the thing. Where that's not really the reality. The pressure is coming from the companies. It's not coming from it's coming from the economy. It's not really coming from the immigrants, but they're easy targets. They're easy targets because they don't have a voice. Like, try to take on the drug companies with the prices they charge with medicine. It's like, who's going to take on that giant? I want to pick on the easy. I want to pick on the easy win. The easy win is that make it the immigrant, the person that's helpless, the one that's coming here for the first time. Let's go ahead and demonize them.
Yeah, the
So,
one that in air quotes here doesn't deserve, right, to be here, right?
yeah. And meanwhile, is that they're coming here and adding to and filling a economic niche, which is picking strawberries or anything that they choose to do, because it, statistically speaking, that first generation gets here has to bite the dust. I mean, they have to take low paying jobs, and their idea is future oriented. My kids, my grandkids will.
Right.
They're in that space. Even whatever country, my kids, my grandkids, they know when they're coming here, they have to bite the dust. They have to take the lower paying job. They have to take this thing. They're trying to get a foothold. They're trying to get here because they would like some of the features we have: safety, protection, rule of law, which is something that's really valuable. We have a good expanse of the rule of law that generally protects people. Generally speaking, there's some problems with that though, and what labels and diagnoses do is take the compassion and the humanity out of um, the person that we're projecting it on. So all you've got to do is put immigrant, Muslim, um, Iraqi, whatever you put on there, and then all of a sudden they got 3 or 4 or 5 labels on top.
Well, let's go back to, I think, the most obvious example in recent years is when uh, Donald Trump makes his announcement that he's running for president. And
That's right.
what labels did he put on immigrants at the southern border? I think, in particular, Mexicans, I think, or I don't know if it was Mexican immigrants or
Yes,
immigrants coming from Mexico. I guess I don't remember exactly which one he
they're
said.
sending us our
But
worst people. And
yeah, or murderers or rapists, and some I'm sure are good people. But boy, did that marginalize the positive benefit to our country of
yes,
immigrants.
that's right. That's right. I'm going to, and branding does that. Uh, when it's done well, what it does is it causes separation and a distinction, and then everybody's got to catch up to what that brand has just said. I'm tough on immigrants is what this brand is standing for. I am going to be tough on. And meanwhile, it runs into this a whole other counter set of values that we've established in our constitution and our rule of law and these kinds of things. Like we can't do that because we've already agreed not to do that. We're choosing to do this, and we're going to make a place for this person to bite the dust here in this country because we know that we're in a stabler place than their country is.
Right.
We're choosing to taking the high road. We're not taking the low road called sorry, you can't come here. You know, and and that's just one place that the labels take place is in the political spaces. While you are a Democrat and Republican there's this the language has caused the polarization to take place, and if I can put enough polarizing language around you, then they won't be thinking vote for me. They'll think not vote for you.
Right.
I'm not voting for lying Ted. I'm not voting for little Rubio. I am not voting for crooked Hillary. I am not voting for. You see, it's like low energy Jeb. I'm not voting for. It's like, oh my gosh. Well, if I'm not voting for those, who am I voting for? Well, the person that's going to make America great again. Now all of a sudden it's tilting over this way, and a good branding and a good marketing campaign. The branding part is the label and the tag. The marketing is the repeated messages in different ways of the same branding and marketing tag. So if I'm going to start off with Geico Insurance, I am going to put up a gecko that is people think of Gecko and Geico because they sound alike. It's an insurance company, right?
Right.
Great. Well, they have this image, right? Well, if I'm going to do Progressive Insurance, I'm going to start with being a high-tech company and realize that doesn't sell. But this Flo character with this dressed in white and this quirkiness and her, going through that space, and now the rest of her minions that are coming up, the Flo lookalikes, is changing the message. The progressive box that's white and is talking. It's a unique way to present something that is, if you don't mind me saying, insurance is boring.
It's completely boring. Yeah.
And it's a safekeeping sell. How do you sell safety and protection? Well, not by saying we're selling safety and protection. We're selling, hey, a brand imprint. Call us. We're lower.
Right.
Whether it's Liberty now and Mercury, they're all trying to get in the game by, shifting their messaging to branded printing, marketing, repetition. You know?
Wow, there's an interesting thing that's occurring to me now in this analogy of insurance and branding. And then I want us to discuss how that relates to political branding, because it seems to me that insurance, you're right, it's a boring industry. It's
Right.
not something that you need to always buy every day, every month, that is sustaining life. It's not like you need food to eat, you're going to go to the grocery store, right? There's less of an urgency to need it, unless maybe it's required because you need car insurance and you bought a car. But
Yeah. Yeah.
oftentimes, certainly switching from one insurance to another to
Yeah.
save a few bucks, it may save a few bucks, but it's not going to keep your bank account from getting overdrawn because you don't have enough money to make ends meet. So it's something that they need to brand more. They need to manufacture this awareness and
Yes.
interest and excitement in something that is pretty boring.
Yes.
And when I think about our political system and how much money it takes to get elected, it seems that branding yourself or your candidate as the right one is also something that is similarly needing to be, that branding needs to be manufactured
Yeah.
in our country in order to get awareness and understanding and really to label. I
Right.
mean, aren't they trying to label their candidate as the
Yeah.
one you want or the one that's better than? And maybe the problem with the 2016 election was that all Hillary could do was to say, I'm not him, I'm not that bad. She was
Right.
labeled as
Right.
Crooked Hillary, and she kept saying, well, no, I'm not. And, oh, we know it wasn't locker room talk, all those sorts of things. She was on defense.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fantasy is that she couldn't speak to his issues in a strong way. She can't. The idea is I can't call him out around sexuality because he's going to call my husband out about sexuality. He's going to bring that out. Meanwhile, that's just a push, because if she says, if he says in the debates, here literally one sentence changes the whole election. Here it comes. He says, it was just locker room talk, because that was what the propaganda / marketing message was, right?
Right.
Locker room talk. All she has to do is turn him and say, locker room talk. You mean what a 15-year-old does in a locker room? Now all of a
Right.
sudden you're going like, she just labeled me a 15-year-old. Yeah, a 15-year-old talks about women that way. That's the way a young boy does it. Are you that?
Yeah, now he's labeled as juvenile.
Yeah, that's correct. Now the would I like a higher narrative than people labeling and diagnosing each other? Yes, I would like people to talk about something. But if somebody is using the tactic of branding, label, marketing, messaging, and saturation of that message, the truth is nowhere to be found. There's no way to have the truthful discussion about adolescent behavior. There's no way to have truthful discussion about what truth is, because you're talking about spin now. You're saying who can outspin the last person, and then truth is nowhere to be found there. It's like, just even, in uh, um, all these different kinds of counter stories and counter messages that are being spun around Barack Obama as well as Trump. That's not to say all of them aren't on a scale of things, but what happens is they're pushed to one side of the scale or others. And is there a sense of naivete for Don Jr. to go and take this meeting with Russians? Yeah, he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know that could be problematic, especially if he used something from that meeting,
Right.
and that thing was used in the thing. He was cooked. But Didn't happen. And so there was an attempt out of naivete and unconsciousness, if I'm evaluating and judging that, it's not mindfulness of this is the way the rule of law works. I may want to check on this meeting as being effective because I'm not in the business environment about securing a loan here. I'm in the political world where there's all these legal constructs that I need to play within, the rules of the game. I need to apply these rules to my behavior, which is something that they really didn't do, is apply the rules to them.
Oh my gosh, they've actually it seems to me that they largely didn't even know what the rules were, and then if they became aware of the rules, they thought, well, it didn't really apply to them,
right,
and did whatever they wanted to do. I agree. It seems clear now with the Mueller report having come out that they were lucky. Attempts at doing something may not be crossing the line of legality, but
Tom, you and I could plan start the planning on a bank robbery. I'm just joking now.
Yeah, of course.
We could start planning it. We have the notes. It's on our computers. And if they find if somebody gets wind of it and they take it, the truth is that there is a conviction for that. There is
attempted bank robbery.
There's a rule about that. That's if you start thinking about something about breaking a rule, there is a statute. You thought about it. It's called, wait a minute, premeditated murder. Right. I was thinking about it. I didn't do it, or I didn't get there, or I was thwarted, or they caught me before. Or premeditated, terrorist attack. They can do people for premeditated. Premeditated is premeditated.
Yeah.
Now notice how this truth discussion is nowhere in the media. Like nobody is doing what does premeditated mean? And if I was one of the candidates, I would pick one of these narratives. This is what premeditation looks like, and then set it next to what the law looks like. In funding, it looks like this, and that's similar to this in the law, where people get an understanding of oh no, yeah, he did do that. Oh yeah, he did do that.
Well, and there's two interesting things going on in the media right now. One is that excuse me. One is that what they seem to be saying is, well, because they didn't succeed, they didn't break the law, and they didn't technically break the law, therefore it's okay. And now they're elevating the behavior to accept help from a foreign company. As long as you didn't break the law, that's okay, and that's allowed now.
Wow.
Right.
Right. Boy, and I mean, Bill Maher mentioned that. He goes, well, they picked Russia. I'm picking China. Why don't the U.S. pick China? China, if you could find, Trump's emails, if you can find his stuff, let me know. It's like, that's not the narrative that we want to do. Is called who has, the greatest foreign power that are allies. But even as I say that right now, is that there's certain countries that actually do that. These are our friends and these are not our friends. These are the ones that we like better and they work with us better and they're easier to get along with. And these are the ones that are not easy to get along with. And we do label and diagnose each other. We do get stuck there. And before this whole thing sounds way left leaning and you and I get lathered with that.
Right.
If I take a moment and have compassion for what Trump and the Trump campaign did, it'll sound like this. I have a need for success and recognition and I'm trying to get as much information I can in order to help my party win, my identity win. I am looking to fight the battle the only way I know how. And that's what they did. It's the only way they knew how, which is applying, now I feel uncomfortable about saying this, a business standard, which is much lower than a legal standard, a business standard to, well, this is a way around that. This is, I could take information anywhere I want. I've been more around the world than most politicians have. And I can wreck the political environment because I'm more international than they are. I've done deals in different countries. Now, he doesn't have very good relationships with those people in the different companies, but he did do deals and he brought revenue and he built golf clubs and it created a type of economy and added to the value of all the people working there for all of his different resorts throughout the world. Yeah, he brings an economy to places. Money can bring an economy to places, and it's not the people that voted for him had the thought that the corporation or corporate people have a benevolence to them, that because they can make money, they're good people. And that part of that is there's a religious part to that, is that God blesses, and that's a belief structure. God has blessed a person because they're affluent. That's problematic, that particular belief. But it is a label and a diagnosis of this. It's not fully the truth, and everybody doesn't believe it. But the problem with truth is that, well, there's rich people that are really good and very generous and really provide a lot of support for their communities and their churches. And there's a bunch of people that don't.
Sure.
that don't do that.
Well, so Bill, we set up at the very beginning, we're talking about truth and labeling. We've talked an awful lot about the labeling. Where is the truth? And how is the message just that the truth gets obscured by the labeling? I mean, what's the lesson here?
The lesson is that it boils down to one sentence. When there's a label or diagnosis going, is that the person is applying this sentence called, please help me understand my pain. Exclamation point, close quotes. Please help me understand my pain. So Trump's pain is, I have a need for respect. I have a need for my identity. I have progress. I have a need for acknowledgement. I have self-worth in this. I want to be heard. I have a need for choice. I want to choose to do what I want to choose to do. And that's the problem when somebody has gotten their need for choice met for so long and has had that level of freedom in the business sector to, if somebody's not meeting their need for support and choice, they're out, and he stops paying them. Well, there's a whole other problem with payment, but he fires them and stuff. But what happens is that if I have a need for choice if I'm looking at Trump's behavior, it's like choice and then fairness. He struggles with those things. I'm going to meet my need for choice, and then I'm going to define fairness the way I think fairness is. So you put this estimate in, I wrote this contract, I signed it, and then I'm going to, at the end of the contract, pay you half. That's Trump's need for fairness.
Right.
He thinks it wasn't worth it. And he can go and nitpick, here, you did all these mistakes, and I'm going to deduct all that. Therefore, I'm going to give you half. The other person's going like, boy, that level of standard is not what you paid for.
Right.
Yeah, but I have to fix it now. Yeah, but you didn't pay for that in the beginning. And then all of a sudden he's in a court battle. And he's able to stall them out.
Sure, which he'll likely win. Yeah.
He'll likely win because he has enough money to play the long game. Just like this presidency, he has enough. He's He's caused enough time to take place to play the long game. Him and his people have played the long game for 4 years. They didn't play the long game for 8 years.
No.
Otherwise, he would have behaved better.
Sure.
And he wouldn't have But there's other problems there. But they're not going to have time for impeachment.
No.
Because they played the long game. There's not time for it. Do you want the impeachment in the middle of the thing, in the things? Yeah, I don't know if you want that there. At the same time, it's kind of their constitutional duty to this guy did some stuff. You got to at least hear it and do trials about it and see, what the play is.
Well, the play may be to use those mechanisms to label Trump, really. And I mean, there are so many ways this happened. You're talking about, Trump's need, that sentence you put in quotes. Well, you could.
He's in pain. He's in pain. Please help me understand my pain. Trump is in pain. The Democrats are in pain. The United States, the people of the United States are in pain. The media is in pain. There's a lot of pain going on because of the way we've painted ourselves into the branding marketing corner, that truth has no place to exist there.
Well, and I think that's also the pain that a lot of America was in, the electorate who make up, what has become Trump's base. They were in pain leading up to the 2016 election.
That's right. That's right. And all there had to do was to be one negative label that would come out of the Democrats that the Republicans could use to fire the other side up. And do you know what that word was? One word that came out of the person's mouth.
One word that came out of the person's mouth.
Hillary.
Hillary. There were, is it deplorables?
Yes, that's it.
I'm like,
you get one label, deplorable. We're in pain here. We're not deplorable. We're in pain about something here. You want to lead us? All that does, and all she did was repeat something someone else said, as going and her pain was, I'm aggravated about it too. I'm aggravated. I can't have a discussion about what's meaningful for America because I'm stuck I have to fight my way out of the paper bag of branding and marketing. I've been branded as crooked. Yes, I made a mistake on the emails and the servers, and I checked with other people and they said they gave me a pass on it, but clearly it wasn't good. And I'm an old person, and what the hell do I know about technology? I was just trusting other people.
Right.
Just saying. Her pain is, I'm not being seen. I'm not being heard. I'm not seeing for the value I've done, let alone the resume piece. I have a resume. I've been there and done this in government. You, sir, have not. Your resume stinks in government. It might be good in business, but it doesn't translate. Would you like to see 3 reasons of that? Now, all of a sudden, if Hillary's speaking like that, it's like your resume doesn't translate. Okay, you think that your resume translates because you have money? Doesn't translate here. This resume translates to cooperation and collaboration. You don't do that. How about that in the debate? Just as
it would have been a game changer.
Game changers. People are really scared, Tom, about the worst sentence that the other side is going to say. They're really scared about the worst sentence. And once we look at the worst sentence that someone can say to us in a debate or say something about our character, and you hear it as, please help me understand my pain underneath it, the sentence dissolves. You can say the worst sentence of the world and the sentence dissolve if you hear it from here. Okay, so let me give you an example. So as somebody that has 27 years experience in this, I get this sentence once in a while. So I'm going to have you give me the sentence, and I'm going to show you what the counter sentence is to that sentence.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the sentence. Bill, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't have a PhD. Just go ahead and say it and point it at my direction. Watch
Okay.
what happens. Point at me. So it's
I
like
have to get my straight face on.
just
All right.
point.
Bill, you don't know what you're saying. You don't have a PhD.
Now that vibration of word is coming towards me, and I have a little bit of time. And there's 3 different ways I can take it. If it comes in here, because it's true, if it comes in here and hits my need for truth or respect, those 2, because of the years experience I have, I go like PhD. But if it hits truth, because it's true, and respect, because, listen, anger showing up next. If it hits those 2 buttons, okay, because it's like, listen, buddy, I have 27 years experience, and I'm bringing anger back.
Sure. Well, because I've attacked you, right?
Right. There's the verbiage is if I take it as an attack and I don't take it as your pain, if I take it as attack, yeah. So now say it again and watch what happens when it hits this button over here. So say it again. Say it,
Okay.
This gets funny as it
Bill,
goes.
you don't know what you're talking about. You don't have a PhD.
Now, as the vibration of those words of it, it's this other burden called the need for self-worth.
Okay.
Or my own identity. Yes, I could have had a PhD, but I took a pass on it. I'm going to feel embarrassed, unsettled, uncomfortable. Notice it's the same sentence, Tom.
Right.
But the truth is still not being talked about, which is my skill, my experience. The skills, what you're talking about, is the label of PhD.
And somehow, but I'm trying to say, because you don't have a PhD, your skill is invalid.
Right. If you had so much skill, why don't you get a PhD? Or PhD gives you this thing. And I'm not trying to take things away from PhD people, because it's hard to work and narrow focus and come up with a project that meets the dissertation, and all that research and all that stuff that goes into it is really like huge. It's like a big thing. And we need that distinction of that person jumping through the hoop. It's a good measurable piece. At the same time, a person's wisdom, knowledge, and experience that have accumulated, especially if they are really more well-read than most PhDs, you sort of would give them a little bit of a push on the credibility piece, right? And the respect piece.
Sure.
Now, the 3rd time I'm going to have you say it, I'm going to catch it this time here. And then I'll show you how the please help me understand pain, my pain sentence shows up. Okay. So
all right.
say it.
Bill, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't have a PhD.
Okay. So the vibration of that sentence is coming in my direction. I pick it up here and catch it here and look at it. And then I become compassionate towards you. And then this next sentence shows up. Tom, I'm guessing you're really feeling doubtful and you really don't have trust or respect, because you really respect people that have PhDs. And right now, you don't have that trust and respect with me because I don't have one of those things. Tom, is that correct?
Yes.
Now it's back on your side. The bullet never touched me.
Because it became all about me
and your
and
pain.
how I feel about it, and not about your truth.
My truth. So say the sentence, locker room talk. It was just locker room talk.
Yeah. Oh, come on. It was just locker room talk.
So you'd like me to hear that that was a mistake that you made, and you really respect women, and you really regret saying that sentence. Is that correct?
Nobody has more respect for women than me.
So you would really like me to really trust that people that use that sentence really respect women. How does that go together with respecting women and using language like that?
Yeah, that's where I would get in trouble.
Yeah, that's correct. It's like they can't put that together. So, it sounds like your truth is that, you get to, you get to have it, you get to say and do things. The turn, there's no, even if he said the sentence next, well, your husband, it becomes, well, I chose to meet the need for stability with my marriage. It seems like you didn't do that.
Can you imagine? My goodness.
End of deal. She's in the White House. He's not. Now, she still hasn't overcome the deplorable thing after all these years. She is labeled as calling certain Americans deplorable. Instead of going, they're in pain. Her next book, the best book, should be the best, her best title if she want to write a book, is called Deplorables, The Forgotten Americans. And write that book.
Yeah.
And that book puts her back. That book makes it right. It's like, here's what the loss of Americans were, and here's what we can do from it. Her voice is still needed because, quite frankly, her resume is still way better than his. That'd be my recommendation. Write the book.
I think it's a really astute recommendation. Isn't it interesting how the deplorables comment, she labeled herself, unfortunately,
Right.
and then her opponent labels her as Crooked Hillary, and how negatively it impacted her. He labeled Mexicans and immigrants as murderers, rapists, bringing drugs into the country. But because it wasn't in his mind, or in the way he communicated, it wasn't Americans he was talking about, it was people outside of America, that label became accepted by enough Americans, right? And it's interesting, I don't know if it was you and I talking about it recently, or if I saw this or discussed this with somebody else, but I was reminded, maybe it was you, about Ronald Reagan and George Bush having a debate.
Yes.
Pardon me. I'm sorry. I'm clearing my throat.
Yes.
I was reminded of George Bush and Ronald Reagan having a debate about the, immigration in the primaries in 1980. Was that a discussion we had?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
And so how
that's
the
right.
open border was seen as something that made America great, that made America strong. And when you think about our whole economic structure, it's built on growth.
It's
And
built
there's
on
only
growth.
so much growth you get from everybody having babies and continuing to, grow the population of the country. Growth is also immigrants coming into the country and contributing to our economy. And I think they recognize that. So the labeling of immigrants now in the Republican Party, and the position of, needing to slow down this wave of immigration because it's going to hurt our American way of life, is really counterintuitive when you think about it.
It is. It is. The immigrations, yes. There immigration on all levels of the economic stratus are needed. So we have business right now looking for people at higher skilled and higher paid positions, and we can't fill them with people coming out of U.S. universities. So we've got to go and pluck people from India and from China and from other countries, to fill these jobs because the skill set is not available. The challenge with that is the belief structures are also very different too. So now you're inserting somebody with a great engineering skill set, but the belief structure is not particularly strong. So that's really problematic too, because then, the person's got to have, the ability to shift the belief. So sometimes it takes a couple of generations for the belief structure to shift into, and second generation, third generation Americans, their belief structure is shifted just fine. They've heard the words and the phrases and the mindset that, that makes up what an American is, and then applies that. The only challenge is the people that are here for a while, fourth, fifth, there's people that get lost and say, wait a minute, I did the work ethic. I did the, go to school, and it didn't really get me anywhere. And where was that job that I got promised? 1 and 1 is not 2. Going to school and getting a degree just means I'm in debt, and I'm not a slave to a person. I am slave to a student loan. I am a slave, and it's not. Yes, you're doing work, but people are like, you know, like a leech just sucking blood off. And every time I get on and look at a different new internet fee that I paid this morning, I was like, oh, somebody just sucked $5 out of my pocket. For what? Oh, for me to have that ready to do something. What's that $5 a month they're taking? And it is this little pull, and it's like being vigilant to keep, get that, get that mosquito away from me, get that, it's sucking the money out of me. And regrettably, this is a part of that part of that part of the economy that is not life-serving necessarily, because you think you need this thing, and all of a sudden you just don't need this thing. Really, really difficult. Anyway,
goodness.
Truth. So this is truth, and the problem with labels and diagnoses create a very narrow, view set. And what winds up happening with labels and diagnoses is that they eventually lead to black and white thinking, blaming and shaming narratives, criticism, defensiveness, contempt, withdrawal. These languaging strategies, regrettably, we're getting pushed into a very, very violent language strategy, which then causes people to isolate and don't become cooperative or collaborative, which is actually what we're really struggling with right now, is that the ability to trust. And because you can't tell, that you don't know what kind of truth you're getting, what winds up happening is you're extending trust, and immediately, like within a week or 2 or 5 or a month or even a year, you're pulling truth back and going like trust back, and you go like, listen, I trusted you, and I was believing the truth you were saying, and the truth you're saying was not delivering for me. And that makes it really, really hard.
So, I mean, I hear what you're saying in terms of in terms of having a productive dialogue with anyone. Labeling is not going to be very helpful, very productive to whatever the goal you're going to achieve. Because we talked about politics a bit, wouldn't it be true? Careful choice of words here. Wouldn't it be better if you are in politics and you're in the debate, you want to diffuse the label your opponent is trying to put on you, but at the same time, you want to label your opponent? I mean, isn't that just the way it is and how you would succeed?
Well, you don't have to label. All you need to do is differentiate.
Okay.
You can actually hold the label back and differentiate. And the label punch is something that can land, the label and diagnosis. I mean, statistics had Hillary winning all of the debates. She won all the debates.
Right.
The exit polls were, oh, she did good. But the trouble with that is that there's a difference between good and great. The great debate is the one that differentiates. It's the differentiator between, Kennedy and Nixon. It's the differentiator between, so that those differentiations is what is really needed. Sentences and narratives that cause the person to say, I think that I can extend trust to this person because they are more truthful than this other person, or I have more confidence that this other person can say and do the things that they're saying and doing.
So in the debate, aren't they trying to establish a black and white differentiation as much as they can?
Yes, but you can't do it. You can't do it from the place of my plan is better than your plan. Hillary tried that one.
Right.
You can't do it. I have a plan. You can't do it there because it's true. She did have one. And it is definitely better than the no plan that we have going into this.
Right.
And the singular objective, for on the Republican side is to cut taxes for wealthy people and not, not help people at the bottom so much.
Sure.
Because of the different labels that they have about them as being lazy or non-working or whatever. And it's very, very disheartening. So the way to disable is like if you said let's just do a couple labels here. Just say, Bill, you're a narcissist.
Bill, you're a narcissist.
Oh, so you're saying that I'm meeting my need for respect at the expense of others, and I'm meeting my need for truth at the expense of others. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wow. Notice how you gave me a label, I gave you compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So compassion wins, empathy wins over violence all the time. It's just it's an easy game.
All right.
So we have so many different wonderful things there to continue talking about, Tom. I think when we come back around to and we look at this title as really the takeaway around please help me understand my pain and the problem with labels with truth, it leads us into, okay, we have this labeling problem, and then it's going to lean into the problems of black and white thinking, criticism, and judgment, and defensiveness and contempt and withdrawal. And we can pick it up there next time because it is such a valuable conversation to talk about, what the truth is in regards to language and language use, and really re-nurture our brains back to have here's what the level of thinking is, and so we can have a healthier dialogue, between parties by, applying, some of these really important tools of communication.
All right, Bill. Sounds great. We'll leave it there.
Yep.
And talk to you next time.
More to come, Tom. Thanks a million.
All righty.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.